The DNA test that destroyed my marriage, but not my love for my children. My name is Daniel. 6 months ago, I believed I had the perfect family. Today, I live alone in Canada. I'm divorced. I have a new family. But every Sunday evening, without fail, 3 children who don't share my DNA still call me Dad. People often ask why. The answer takes me back almost 20 years. When I met Grace, I was 28 years old and working as an electrician. She was kind, caring, and full of ambition. We dated for 2 years before getting married. Like every young couple, we dreamed of owning a house, traveling the world, and raising children together. A year after our wedding, we started trying for a baby. Months passed, then a year, then 2. Nothing happened. Eventually, our doctor referred us to a fertility specialist. After several tests, the consultant looked at me with compassion. Daniel, he said, your sperm count is extremely low. It's not impossible for you to father children naturally, but the chances are very small. I felt my world collapse. Before I could say anything, Grace reached for my hand. We'll get through this together, she whispered. Those words gave me hope. Then a few months later, Grace told me she was pregnant. I couldn't believe it. The doctors called it a miracle. 9 months later, our daughter Emily was born. 3 years later, Grace became pregnant again. Another miracle. Our son Jacob arrived healthy and full of energy. 4 years after that, Grace became pregnant for the 3rd time. Once again, the doctors said we were incredibly fortunate. I never questioned anything. Why would I? Those children called me Dad. I was there for every first step, every birthday, every school concert, every football match, every hospital visit, every bedtime story. I worked 2 jobs to give them the best life possible. Every sacrifice I made was for my family. Then after years of applying for jobs overseas, I finally received an offer from a construction company in Toronto, Canada. The salary was almost double what I was earning. It was the opportunity we'd prayed for. Grace cried with happiness. The children spent every evening watching videos about Canada. Emily wanted to visit Niagara Falls. Jacob wanted to play ice hockey. Sophie couldn't stop asking if snow was really as soft as it looked. We began selling furniture. We told friends and relatives we were moving. Everything seemed perfect. Then our immigration consultant called. There is just one final requirement, he said. Because of an issue with one of the children's birth registration records, immigration has requested DNA tests to confirm the parent-child relationship. I laughed. That's the easiest part of the whole process. A week later, the 5 of us visited the clinic. The nurse collected our DNA samples. Jacob laughed. Dad, imagine if the test says I'm secretly a millionaire. Everyone laughed. Even the nurse smiled. I wish I had known that would be the last time we laughed without a shadow hanging over us. 2 weeks later, I received a phone call. Mr. Daniel, we'd like you to come in to discuss your results. I wasn't worried. I drove there during my lunch break, expecting to be back at work within half an hour. Instead, the genetic counselor closed the office door and handed me a sealed envelope. She spoke softly. Please take your time. I opened the report. The words blurred before my eyes. Probability of paternity, excluded. There has to be a mistake, I whispered. She nodded. We recommend repeating the test. I agreed immediately. Every sample was collected again under strict supervision. There was no possibility of a mix-up. 7 days later, I returned to the clinic. The counselor handed me another envelope. The first page, not the biological father. The second page, not the biological father. The third page, not the biological father. I couldn't breathe. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was lying in a hospital bed. The doctor told me I'd suffered a severe panic attack caused by emotional shock. That evening, I drove home. The children ran to the door. Dad! They hugged me tightly. I hugged them back, trying not to cry. After dinner, I asked Grace if we could talk privately. She smiled. Of course. I placed the DNA reports on the dining table. Read them. She looked confused. As she turned to each page, the color slowly drained from her face. Finally, she whispered, This can't be right. I looked directly at her. The tests were repeated. Silence filled the room. Then I reminded her of the fertility specialist's words from years ago. My chances of fathering children were very small. I asked quietly, Grace, have you ever been with another man during our marriage? She immediately shook her head. No. I looked at her. Please don't lie to me. She broke down in tears. For several minutes she couldn't speak. Then through sobs she whispered, "Yes." My heart shattered. She admitted that during a difficult period in our marriage many years earlier, she had secretly met her former boyfriend. She said it only happened a few times. When she became pregnant, she convinced herself that because the doctors had said my fertility was low, not impossible, the baby could still be mine. When the second pregnancy happened, she buried the guilt even deeper. By the time the third child was born, she had spent so many years pretending that she had started believing her own lie. I asked one final question. "Did your ex know?" She nodded. "He knew there was a possibility." I felt sick. Then I asked, "Did he ever buy school uniforms?" She shook her head. "Did he ever stay awake all night when they were sick?" "No." "Did he ever teach Jacob to ride a bicycle?" "No." "Did he ever attend parents' evenings?" "No." I stood up slowly. "He may share their DNA, but I've shared their lives." A month later, we divorced. Not because I hated Grace, but because trust had died. The hardest part wasn't signing the divorce papers. It was telling the children that Mom and Dad would be living in different homes. I never told them about the DNA results. They were innocent. None of this was their fault. A few months later, I accepted the job in Canada and moved alone. Starting over at my age wasn't easy. Many nights I sat alone looking through old family photographs. Then one Sunday evening, my phone rang. It was Emily. "Dad, are you busy?" I smiled. "Never too busy for you." She handed the phone to Jacob, then Sophie. For over an hour, they told me everything that had happened during the week. Before hanging up, Sophie said, "We love you, Dad." Not Daniel. Dad. From that day forward, they called me every Sunday without fail. 2 years later, I met an incredible woman in Canada. Before we got serious, I told her everything. She listened quietly. Then she smiled. Being a father isn't just about DNA. It's about showing up. After medical treatment and a lot of hope, we were blessed with 2 beautiful children together. The day I held my newborn son, I cried. Not because he shared my DNA, but because life had given me another chance. People often ask whether I regret raising the first 3 children. My answer is always the same. Not for 1 second. DNA tells you who helped create a child. It doesn't tell you who stayed awake through sleepless nights, who paid the school fees, who celebrated birthdays, who held them when they were afraid, or who answered every phone call. Those 3 children may not carry my blood, but they will always carry my love. And as long as they keep calling me Dad, I will always answer.